Hello and welcome back to TGTV, and more specifically welcome back to a very impromptu Watch Talk. Watch Talk is back on the channel, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to try and make this more of a regular thing. You currently join me then, feeling like an idiot actually, strolling down Regent Street. It is a working day. I'm out on my lunch break, you might call it. It's a working day. I've jumped out of work because today I'm off to go and collect a brand new watch from Watches of Switzerland. So, without chaos, London is hell. Anyway, I'm on Regent Street, I'm off to collect a watch. Join me in a second, I'm gonna go and collect it, take you through the process and explain exactly what I've got and why I've got it. And also, as with Watch Talk, there'll be an opportunity to win your very own watch exactly the same as I'm collecting. So let's go. Here we go then. I must admit, obviously you'll notice that I'm not at work or near work or anything to do with work. This is now after work, a couple of days later. So basically, I've got the watch by the way. Watches of Switzerland, it wasn't fair for me to run around in there with a camera pointing it at people and shouting and doing all my nonsense in there. So I bought the watch nicely and got out of there. They've got a lot of high profile clients in there. Running around being a nonsense with a vlogging camera is not the vibe. So I did the polite thing for once in my life and I just went home with my watch. And it is here. So we're going to talk about it. I'm going to unbox it. Out of box there. This is quite a boring safety note actually. When I collected the watch, I actually opted for a blank plastic bag to take it out with, and I took the watch out of the box and put it in my inside pocket. And then the box went into a blank plastic bag. I think into like a Sainsbury's bag or something like that. You don't really want to be strolling around London with a Watches of Switzerland bag with a Rolex in the box, in the bag. Not in this day and age anyway. Maybe I'm a little bit paranoid, but anyway, that's a little safety tip there. Let's get this video started properly anyway. There's been enough waffle. Let's do the unboxing then. We have the outer cardboard box here. And inside we have the customary green Rolex box. And inside we have, swing tags ignored. We have my GMT chaos. I don't know if that's focusing, but we've got it. It's in here. They've obviously already taken the link off for me. They've fitted it out for me in the shop, so that is in there in the bag. Inside, we've got the cards. Actually, that is another thing I want to touch on as well, because this is a new practice for many, many Rolex dealers. You will note here, usually there is a little card in there, a plastic card, like a credit card size thing, that has the kind of the warranty numbers and the signature and the stamp of the dealer and all that kind of jazz on it. You don't tend to get those anymore from dealers. The practice now is to give you them 12 months down the line so you don't sell the thing. And also, when they give you the watch as well, they rip all the stickers off there and then. That wasn't an issue with this. I do wear my watches, and if they get scratched, I don't cry about it. They can polish up, I don't tend to. So this is not a flip. But anyway, they take the stickers off and they keep the card now as well. They actually give you, I don't know if I should be saying this actually, but it's fine. I mean, all dealers are doing it now. They actually give you, and I'm going to cover up the numbers, a photocopy of the card, not the real thing. And then you go and exchange that for the real thing in about kind of a year's time. How do I feel about that? I really don't care, to tell you the truth. That doesn't bother me whatsoever. I don't think I've ever gone to look at my watches or gone to put a watch on and gone, oh God, I wish I had the card with it. It's not an issue whatsoever. If you do have any problems with the watch, you've obviously got the receipt from Watches of Switzerland. You can just go straight in there and just say, oi, the hand's fallen off or something like that, which it wouldn't with a Rolex. There's no issue with warranty. And if you've got the photocopy of the card anyway, then you're absolutely fine. But literally just the watch itself, they can run through the numbers on the watch. You don't actually need that stuff. I know people really want kind of all the papers and the card and stuff when they're buying a watch, but realistically, you don't really need it. And if you want that kind of stuff to combat it being fake, I'm pretty sure that people that make fake watches can make fake cards as well, so I don't think that's a huge thing. Anyway, I've waffled there, ladies and gentlemen. We just want to get the watch out and talk about the watch, don't we? Before I start waffling then and telling you how I got this, what the price was, what they're worth now, and all the rest, and the kind of bit of history about the GMT Master, and just go through exactly why I like this watch so much, I want to tell you can win your very own Pepsi GMT with BOTB. The link will be below right now. Tickets start with a whole watch competition, actually just 15p, and they range up a little bit more for more expensive stuff, but go and check it out. If you're into watches, there's a very, very cool range of watches there on BOTB available to win. There's some mainstream stuff like the Pepsi GMT, but there's also some really cool bits that BOTB have put in there. So make sure you go and check that out. do enter. And as I've been threatening for a while, and actually someone suffered this actually, a chap won a Boucherer Blue Tudor, and I actually met up with him and handed over the watch. I may well turn up. So if you win one of these or anything else as a result of this video, I may well turn up at your door with the watch. So good things and bad things. But yeah, get involved below. You've got to be 16 or over to enter. You can enter anywhere in the world, and there is a winner every single week that wins a car. There's gadgets, there's lifestyle prizes, there's all sorts of stuff on there. So don't just check out the watches, make sure you go and check it out. BOTB, many of you will be already familiar with it. It's a spot the ball competition. It's super, super simple. Get in the pot. Anyway, on with the video. GMT time. I think I'm gonna probably swap it on and put it on my wrist for the video. If you want to know more about what's been on my wrist whilst I've been waffling, this little number, I've actually done a full video on this. And if you haven't already seen that video and you can tell what that is and you know what it is instantly, you know your watches. Anyway, that full video is on the channel as well, so we're gonna put that over there, I think. Let's get it on the wrist. Many of you will be super familiar with the GMT line from Rolex by now. Just as recognisable as the Submariner, the Daytona, to some extent the Sea Dweller. It is a very, very kind of iconic watch now, but it wasn't always the case. Rolex never actually really started with the GMT. They were never known for the kind of the travel watch thing. It actually came about, their first one in 1954, and that actually came about as a result of Pan Am, which were an airline at the time. They put a request into Rolex saying, "Oi, Rolex, can we have a watch that has time zones and enables us to travel and know what time it is in different parts of the world?" Combating jet lag and just making their lives a little bit easier. And Rolex said, "Pan Am, you've got a point. Let's crack on, let's make a watch." And the first iteration then was the 6542 reference, which had what's called a bakelite bezel. Hopefully I'll put some images on the screen right now. It had this bezel that didn't really stand the test of time that well in retrospect. There was a see-through bezel with a bit of luminescent stuff in it. I actually don't know what they made out of. Bakelite, I think. Is that material? I don't know. They are extremely valuable now. The Pan Am 6542s, they're the first GMTs that Rolex actually made. And interestingly, where this ties in, they were actually blue and red. There was a very, very similar colour scheme to what we see here. They weren't on a Jubilee bracelet. That said, they were on the Oyster bracelet, I believe, but super, super cool watch. And if you ever see anyone with one of those on, A, they know their stuff, and B, they're cash, whoever they are. Absolute cash. Such a rich watch. And that's where it all started, really. Since then, there's been 1,000,001 iterations of it. I've actually covered the GMT before on this channel with my GMT Root Beer, which is a 1987 model. I've covered that. But they were producing them with a metal bezel up until 2000, I'm gonna get this wrong, maybe 2007, 2010, around then anyway. Well past the millennium anyway. They started making the bezels out of ceramic, and they made the stainless steel with black ceramic bezel, the standard GMT that pretty much everyone got. And they were about $5.5 grand. Back when they came out, the demand was not really there. You could pretty much walk into a Rolex dealer and get one of those stainless steel GMTs, and in fact many people did. As I say, I don't quote me on this, I think they were about $5.5 grand, maybe $6 grand then, and they've gradually crept up with the Rolex kind of price increases year on year. I think they put their prices up at least once or twice a year, about 5%, 10%. They do creep up, and with those price rises, demand has gone up as well. So Rolex then released the Batman, or the BLLR, whatever on earth it's called. I got that wrong in my last video as well, so I was about that. The blue and black bezel, basically, the blue and black ceramic bezeled GMT with the Oyster bracelet. Many people picked those up as well. I believe they were about 6.5 by then, by the time they came out. Probably, I don't know what they would come out in, 2014, 2015, don't know, again, could be wrong, maybe 2013, who cares? A few years back. Since then, Rolex have re-released that Batman on a Jubilee bracelet. For some reason, I really don't know why they did that. I really don't know why they re-released the same watch but with a different bracelet. That has got to have been a cock-up from someone at Rolex, surely. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, a lot of manufacturers, I know milking things is the name of the game, but that still doesn't make sense. And I actually don't think the Jubilee bracelet on the Batman suits it as well as the Oyster does. Controversial, I know, and I know Mr. Darren Gibson's actually got that watch, so hopefully he's not watching this, although I have a feeling he might be. Sorry about that, mate. And as a result, the Oyster bracelet, Batman, has now gone up, gone through the roof. So, well done. If you pick one of those up at list, you've done extremely well. But as I've always said with these things, it's all very well saying, oh yeah, my watch has gone up 10 grand, but if you don't want to sell it and you don't sell it, you're never going to see a profit. So it's actually meaningless. It's just numbers on a screen. But I guess it's willy waving rights, and it's a nice thing to know that it's gone up in value. All very cool. And nice to know, actually, if you ever need any cash, you can get out of it. Enough background and nonsense aside, I've skipped a huge part of the GMT history, by the way. The first Pepsis that came out as well, we had the Coke and the Pepsi as well. There's loads and loads of GMT models that have been out through the years. Obviously the root beers, the full golds, There's been loads and loads of cool GMT models. I honestly don't have time to go through them all, but that was just a little run through, getting us up to the present day, because we want to talk about this, the watch on my wrist. So this watch actually came out in 2017, I think. It's now 2019. The first iterations of these came out. They actually came out with a Mark 1 bezel on them. What many people don't know is this watch came out with a blue and red bezel, but slightly more faded. So there was a different version of this that came out first. Much like the Sea Dweller 50th anniversary, there was a Mark 1 and there is a Mark 2. I've actually got a Mark 1 50th Sea Dweller. That video's on my channel as well. But they changed the dial on the 50th, and they had changed the bezel on this after sort of one production run, after about, I don't know, about a year. Quite a rare watch. So if you have got one of these, check. I'll put some pictures on the screen now and you can actually see the difference. I actually met someone recently at a car meet at Topaz that had a Mark 1. And I actually don't know which I prefer. I'm minded to say Mark 2, but I know now the Mark 1 is a rarer watch, so I kind of like things that are a little bit rarer. So, yeah, little interesting piece of boring trivia there. But Rolex often do these things. I remember with the 50th anniversary Submariner that I've got as well. There's a flat 4 bezel, there's ones with a different O on the dial of the Rolex. There's loads of little nuances that most of the collectors know all about, but most normal people like me kind of know about but don't really care about. Those watches go through the roof in value. There's about £5 premium on some of these kind of little weird brief production run watches. So the flat 4 bezel Submariner, for example, I think there's thousands premium on top of a normal one, just for the different shaped 4. I mean, Rolex collectors they are a bizarre bunch, but there we go. Anyway, off topic again. So this is a Mark II bezel. It is a dark blue and a dark red bezel. It looks almost black, the blue bezel, in some lights, and in some lights it does actually go quite a nice blue. What Rolex have done is really, really clever. They've managed to get 2 different ceramic colours and merged them very, very cleanly, and we'll get some close-ups of the bezel. But the technology involved in getting 2 different colours of ceramic to kind of neatly go together like that is bonkers. It's really, really difficult. Apparently, anyway. I've never actually tried it, and I suspect many of you never have either. But the tech behind that is absolutely silly, so hats off to them for that. I can safely say this watch is probably one of the most hyped watches of the past couple of years. Everyone was and still is after one of these. You'd be hard pressed to ask anyone if they were after a new Rolex to find someone that wasn't after one of these. This, along with the stainless steel Daytona, is by far and away the most sought after Rolex model. Right now, you cannot pick one of these up for less than about 15k, I would say. I don't know what the Mark 1s versus Mark 2s are doing. I don't know whether the market's even picked up on the fact that there are different bezel variations. If you are after one of these on the grey market, I would go for Mark 1. Personally, because they're going to do better long term. So yeah, I would get in there and I would get one. I would say though, on the values things, I've seen these up at about 17k and I paid 7,150 for it list price. That is mental. That's what, 10 grand increase in value just by walking out of a store. Sorry, their battery ran out. I'm not going to demonize flippers by saying, you shouldn't flip a watch. It's as bad as kicking a kid in the face. It's not really immoral, I don't think, flipping watches. I mean, who really cares? I personally don't. I want more stuff going down the line. I have done in the past. I'm not going to demonize people or attempt to say that people that sell their watches and make a silly amount of profit on them are immoral. I know it's annoying. I don't think it's immoral though. I think the market determines the value of these things. Supply and demand is basic economics. And do you know what? If the money you've been offered on a watch outweighs the amount you enjoy it, get rid of it. The person offering that money values that watch more. I don't like seeing watches get allocated to people that flip them, quite obviously, because it then deprives people that are just going to put them on their wrist and wear them about and enjoy them and give them to their kids and all the rest of it. So there is that side of it, but also the flipping side of it. It's a very grey area with the whole watch thing, and it does get people's backs up, so I'm not going to go into it too much. I've been buying from Watches of Switzerland. I want to keep buying from Watches of Switzerland. If I flip this will end up on the market, on Chrono24, something like that. And what Rolex do, and Patek do it as well, they buy watches back off the grey market. They run through the serial numbers and they check where that watch has come from, dealer-wise. That dealer then gets earache. They then track the watch back to who they sold it to, and that person then gets a kick in the nuts. So if you are thinking of just putting your name on a load of lists, getting a few of these, probably not the best idea, and you will be waiting years for one of these. If you've never bought a watch before from a dealer and you walk in and you ask one, A, they'll laugh, and B, then they'll just put you on a list. But I would suspect you probably would not get one within the next 3 years or so, if you end up with one at all. So yeah, your best bet is just buy some more vanilla stuff from a dealer, build up a good working relationship with them, for God's sake, when they sell you a kind of a limited watch or whatever, the next time you go and see them several months down the line, make sure you're wearing them. It's a good idea to have it looking worn, that you haven't just chucked it in a safe, and that is your best chance of getting one. I know that's very woolly advice, but they only want to sell to people that aren't going to chuck them on the grey market, and they're not going to get earache for. They want to sell it to people that are enthusiastic about watches. They like watches, they know what they're doing, and they're going to pass it down to their kids. And that's what the whole keeping the papers thing's about. Anyway, that's all very boring. That's all very boring, but I have got so many questions, people asking me, how did you get on a list? You know, that's the golden goose, that's a unicorn. How on earth has that happened? There we go. I must say Darren Gibson helped me out a little bit. He buys watches from there as well, so he made some great intros into the dealership for me as well. But I've had to pay my way. It's a long-term kind of relationship game. I know it sounds all a bit emotional, but it really is. It's like buying sort of limited Porsches, limited Ferraris, anything like that. Anyone that's been part of that kind of circus will know the kind of rigmarole that goes on and the games that need to be played. It is better in the watch world, I must say. It is better than that. You don't have to buy a Lusso and lose your mortgage deposit over it to get a pista. There's nothing like that. So the worst case as well, if you have to buy a few vanilla Rolex pieces, and I say vanilla, they're all amazing watches, but you have to buy a few vanilla Rolex pieces and you hold on to them or you sell them down the line, there isn't many Rolex watches that are losing a huge amount of money now, to be honest with you. Most of the vaguely popular models, they hold their cash. So yeah, it's nowhere near as bad as, for example, buying a Lusso. I don't know who on earth would do that. Buying a diesel KN or whatever in the Porsche world, it's nowhere near as bad as that. You probably might lose 500 quid, maybe £1,000 on a Rolex, something like that, and if it enables you to get some of the spicy pieces that you really, really want, that's fine in my book. I know that sounds a bit flippant. Play the game really and don't be a prat. One other thing I wanted to touch on as well about the increase in value. I get asked this non-stop in DMs on Instagram. I don't have time to go back and answer everyone. Who I get my watches insured with? I get my watches insured with First Point. First Point do watch insurance, they also do car insurance. Very good if you've got a few supercars and kind of you need a flexible cover and that proper cover on them, open drive and all that kind of stuff. You go abroad, you want approved repairs, for example, stuff like that. Really good bunch in the insurance world. Very, very helpful, very switched on, and they know exactly what they're doing. So make sure you check them out for watch insurance. It's quite a complicated game, to be fair, especially now a lot of people buy their watches cash. People buy watches that go up in value. People keep watches all over the place. You wear them around. You want to be insured going to the pub. All that kind of stuff. Watch insurance is a very complex thing, so make sure you get proper watch insurance. Go and check out First Point. I'll leave their details below anyway, but a huge shout to them as well. Thanks for helping out with everything. Top bunch. Back to the watch then. How do I find it? Do I love it? Am I keeping it? Am I going to flip it? What's the vibe with this? How long am I going to hold on to it? Is it my favourite watch? First things first then, I'm enjoying it. I really like it. The Jubilee strap, I've never had a Rolex with a Jubilee strap. No, I'm lying. I've got my root beer. That has a Jubilee strap. The Jubilee strap on this is very, very comfortable. It's a little bit more lightweight than the Oyster strap, and it just gives a nice little kind of, nice bit of light coming off it. When you're wearing it, it's got a nice kind of vintage vibe to it, but also it's got the modern touches with the glass, with the anti-reflective coating in the Cyclops and the ceramic bezel and the kind of rehat engravings. There's loads of cool modern touches in this watch, but it's also harking back to that very first Pan Am 6542 reference, which is really, really cool, and I love it. It's not going anywhere. I'm not going to sell it. The only time I would sell this is if I went like bankrupt or something, or I really, really needed the cash. I had subsidence on my house or something, if that's the thing. You know, like a crisis basically. It would get offloaded, and I make no secret of that. But for the time being, I'm going to hold on to it, and if I can afford to hold on to it, then I will. I don't suspect I will need to have to get rid of this. The cars would probably go first if I was in a crisis situation. But I do love it. I aim to give this, if I end up breeding, I aim to give it to my kids. What do I think the value of them is going to do over the next few years? I think actually, and this is going to be an unpopular opinion, possibly, I think the watch market might well have peaked. I think the watch market now is doing what the car market was doing possibly 2-3 years ago, where everything was a premium, everything was sought after, waiting list on everything, everyone just wants everything all of the time. I think the watch market is following suit with the car market, and it's not to say the car market bubble has burst. I think there's just been a slight cooling off and a slight correction, which was long overdue because it was getting absolutely silly. You could buy like a brand new Hurricane and get a premium on it. I mean, that's not a thing. Same, I think, will happen to the watch market. I think it will cool down a little bit. It's got to. It's absolutely got to. A standard stainless steel Daytona is now about 23, 24 grand. A 5711 Patek Blue is about 60k. And once they discontinue that watch, I can see them going over 100 grand. I mean, that is absolutely mental. So There is some cooling off needed and probably overdue in the watch market, so I think that's probably going to happen at some point. It's not going to be panic stations. If you bought one of these for 15, 16 grand, you're fine. They will continue going up at retail price, and that will just drag the used prices up slightly. I don't think they'll go down. I just think they'll stop shooting up. So if you have bought one of these at overs, I really wouldn't panic. There's always going to be a demand for these. These things are iconic. They've been in demand for sort of 40 odd years, not quite to the same extent, but they've been an icon for that long, and I don't see them falling in desirability anytime soon. Rolex are very clever in how they control the market as well and their supply. They're not going to allow their stuff to tank residually. That's kind of the whole mainstay of the Rolex business, really, is residuals, and people know they can buy one, rock it for 20 years, give it to their kids, kids can rock it for 20 years, and then flog it for a mortgage deposit. I mean, it sounds a bit cynical, but that's kind of the crux of it, really. Looking forward then, I don't really know what I'm going to add to the collection next. I think maybe a Hulk. I slept on the Hulk. I actually picked one up years back, retail, about 6.5 grand. I wore it a bit and I was like, do you know what? I don't like it as much as my 50th. Everyone's got one. They're a bit rubbish. Don't really like them. Got rid of it. Didn't even make any money on it, I don't think. I think I just sold it to my mate. Fast forward a few years, and I realised the Hulk is actually a very cool watch, and I'm a prat, so hopefully I can get a Hulk soon. I can add it to the collection, and I can just put it into the rotation. Many of you that follow me on Instagram will realise that I wear actually a different watch every single day. They all get use, I wear them all of the time. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, in the gym, swimming, on holiday, abroad, driving, anything. I'm always wearing a watch. So they do get use, I'm always wearing them, and more the merrier, to be honest. If I could wear a different watch every day for 2 months, then I would. I'd love to. So hopefully a Hulk next, and maybe a black dial Daytona. There are a load of watches in my collection I haven't even spoken about, and at some point I will do a full box opening session. I'll go to my vault, which is not in my house. I'll go to my vault, which is off-site, and I'll go and get them all. I will do a video on that. Anyway, before I go actually, oh god, right, it's actually over here. I've been asked loads and loads of times, how do I maintain keeping my watches shiny, scratch-free, you know, looking fresh, and also, quite importantly actually, with a lot of these watches, is minimizing bracelet stretch. That is actually a very real issue with a lot of these watches, and that is when, I'll demonstrate it with this. When you get a watch new, you'll see that, you can hold it sideways, and the bracelet will sit pretty much flat. With older watches, you will see some droop. It'll kind of droop down like that, and that's called bracelet stretch, and that happens over time. A, if you wear your watches too tight. B, if you put them actually in a watch case with a watch cushion that kind of expands them out. So Rolex are quite good, they're quite flexible, but if you put them on a watch cushion that stretches the bracelet, they sit there like under tension the whole time, that can cause a lot of trouble. The other thing that causes bracelet stretch, and particularly with models with gold in the bracelet, because gold's quite soft, is when you have grime in the links. So grime will get in there over time, and that's perfectly normal, don't panic about grime, but it'll get in there, and what it will do is it will erode away with the movement of your kind of wrist and the bracelet. It will get in there and it will erode, and eventually it'll start creating more stretch. The best way to combat this is keeping your bracelet clean. I haven't touched on this before, to be honest, because it's actually really boring, but if you do plan on keeping one of these watches long term, the only thing that's really going to show age is the bracelet. The bracelet's going to be the first thing that kind of ends up looking like bacon. And there's a huge example of that on my Stellar day date. The bracelet on that is literally like a piece of ham. It's like when you hold it sideways. So you've got to keep it clean. I actually use this. It's actually quite a cool company. Someone I know owns it. But it's called Watch It Shine inside the kit. And I'm going to leave probably a link below and a discount code. But inside, you get all sorts of bits and bobs. I'm not going to give you a demo now, but you actually clean your bracelet with it. It's got a little brush, cleaning kit, the whole lot. Very, very safe to use on watches and just quite a good idea. I don't polish them. If they get scratched, I don't polish them unless I'm going to look to sell them, and then I'll give them a little once over. But that is not a polishing kit. This will just keep it fresh and looking really, really, well, just shiny, as the name suggests. As I say, I'll probably leave a link below and a discount code for you all, but quite cool just to have one of those knocking around in your toolkit, just to kind of have a little restoration session every now and again in your watches. And I do that, because I do wear most of them on a bracelet. If you're too panicky about the bracelet and you want to keep a watch decades, and you think, you know, you want to wear it every single day, and you don't want to batter the bracelet, and you want to keep that fresh because you might want to give it to your kids or whatever, you can put them on a NATO, you can put them on a leather strap or a bun strap, something like that. There are loads of different strap options, and you can do it on this. I'm not going to, but you can, and that keeps the bracelet fresh. But what I choose to do, I just use this kit every now and again and keep them fresh, nice and shiny. Job's a good one. Right, I'm going to go then, because that's literally Archie at the door. Thank you very much for watching. Do get in the comments, let me know what you want to see. Shut up! What you want to see on the channel next, what you want me to buy next, what you want me to discuss, because it doesn't even need to be one in my collection. I can just go and find one. Shut up! That is literally Archie right now. Make sure you go and check out BOTB anyway. Go and enter the competition. Good luck with that. And as I say, if you do want your watches insured, big shout to First Point. They are the best in the game. Thank you very much. Ciao for now. Bye!